Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah, get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he's king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump. Or should I call it total non-stop apron bump, apron bump, total nuts. TNA AB. Look, I was either gonna come in with that stupid joke, or I was gonna come in singing Creed, My Sacrifice. So you gotta, you know, it's the lesser of two evils, folks. Okay, so shut the fuck up, all right? God, jeez, let me talk. I'm just trying to do a podcast here. Tna Sacrifice 2005. Hot dog on an ice cream sandwich. This show was actually very, very good, you know. TNA, I get it. LOL TNA, I get it. Jeff Jarrett, Reverse Battle Royals, Relic, Claire Lynch, I got it. I'm with you. But 2005 TNA, man, I touched on it in a previous episode. I can't remember if it was my last one, No Surrender, or an older one. But the changes that TNA has gone under within just the year of 2005 since I've been covering it, right? Whether it's, you know, the changing in the booking backstage, they let Dusty Rhodes go, among others. They've let a lot of other people go, which we actually go over in the episode itself. But a lot of the old timers aren't getting as much spotlight. TNA is really leaning into that X Division style. The tag team division, they're leaning into the TNA Sacrifice 2005. This show takes place on August 14th, 2005. We're a little over halfway through the year, but it's already night and day between the beginning of the year and how watching these pay-per-views felt. Early 2005, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of these shows were kind of a chore to watch. Like, they had a few matches that were very good, but you had to kind of suffer through or sacrifice through them, huh? Branding. But early 2005, like I said, it was just a whole different pace to it, a whole different feel. And they're definitely taking that into account. They definitely went and watched things back, or at least listened to feedback from the fans, and have made changes, and that's evident with TNA Sacrifice 2005, because ultimately this show kind of flies under the radar, pretty much because of what the next pay-per-view is, Unbreakable, it has that famous triple threat match for the X Division title. We all know that, right? We actually make steps to that match here in this show, which is a dandy. But Sacrifice, like I said, it kind of flies under the radar because it's bound for glories in a few months as well. But thus far, and if you've been following along with me in this journey through TNA, which, by the way, if you have not been and you want to kind of get caught up from the beginning, you can go to apronbump.com, go to the episodes tab, select TNA, and there's your journey right for you. It brings up all my episodes that I've done in chronological order, starting from their first 3-hour pay-per-view in late 2004. So this journey from then to now, TNA Sacrifice 2005 is probably my favorite show that I've watched from them so far. I would say by a good margin, just based on how well-rounded this show was, how consistently good the matches were. There weren't really a lot of duds, if any, on this show. There's still, don't worry, there's a lot of TNA-isms that exist that we will ridicule till the cows come home. I don't know what that saying means, but I think that applies there, right? But yeah, TNA Sacrifice, really good. I keep saying the event like I'm Scott Steiner, but spells trouble for you at Sacrifice. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling, but TNA, we get some major news in regards to a TV deal that TNA has landed in the beginning of the show. And that's when, so this buzz that TNA has here at this point, that's where that buzz really starts to build on itself. They start to build momentum. It's kind of been stagnating throughout this year so far, but now it's buzzing, but now it's buzzing like a fucking bumblebee. You know what I'm saying? So, what? So TNA is looking good right now. Looking good. And in this show, like I said, we get a lot of good X Division action all throughout the show. But they managed to kind of differentiate each match, whether it's the style of the match, whether it's the stakes involved. So they do a really good job at that. We also get the debut of Austin Aries on this show. And we get some matches that, like, you see it on the card, you're like, oh, that's going to be kind of that's a bathroom break match. But there's some matches on this show that blew my expectations away. For example, Abyss versus Lance Hoyts. Awesome match. The main event, which is very, I give Jeff Jarrett a lot of shit, but honestly, I'm entertained by his matches more than not. So like, maybe I need to let up on old Double J here, but the main event is Jeff Jarrett and Rhino versus Raven and Sabu. Huh? Yeah, I didn't make that up. That's the thing that's happening here. Really, really fucking fun main event, and a lot of shenanigans at the end that kind of build towards future matches. But man, what by far stole this show, by far, was Shocker versus, no, I'm just kidding. It was the X Division Cup Finals, the Super X Cup Finals. Whew, I gotta take a deep breath before this one. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. Just take a second. Don't finish yet. We're just, you got to edge a little farther. We'll talk about it. But man, oh man, did that match make my nipples turgid? Let me tell you. So, and Christopher Daniels is champion, X Division champion. He's ringside. And Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles is a match to crown the number one contender for that title. So, yeah, we're getting into it, baby. We're getting into peak TNA, and I am ready for it. But my guest on this show, returning to the Apron Bump, Frank from the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. It's funny, the last time I had him on the show, we actually covered TNA Destination X 2005, which is a great episode. You should go check that out. But that was in like February, March, right? So that perfectly, like, I keep talking about how different this product was from the beginning of 2005 to now. And now Frank is able to perfectly represent that because he saw what it was in the early 2005, and now he's just jumping straight back here into August, and so now he automatically notices the difference, and we talk about that. But a great time with Frank. You can check him out on Twitter at LMW Podcast. Also check out his podcast at lmwpodcast.com. There's a lot of great interviews. Really good dude, really entertaining guy. He's also a verbal ambassador. If you go to his Twitter, you can check that out. All the links in his bio there. And I'll also link all that stuff in the description below. So let's get into it. TNA Sacrifice 2005 with myself and Frank from the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. But yeah, man. So we last spoke about Destination X 2005, which I believe is like in February or so. Mm-hmm. And now we're at Sacrifice, which is in August.
Yeah.
And just to recap, so you're very familiar with this era of TNA, right?
Yeah, quite a lot. It's the era that for some very weird reason was on free TV in Italy. So yeah, 2005, 2006, even more. Yeah,
Really? So it continued even when they went to Spike in Italy. You still got it for free, I guess?
yeah,
I guess,
on some weird ass channel that I really don't remember.
So it wasn't Spike. It was like some Italian version of
No, it was called like GXT or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever avenue it takes.
Yeah.
To get the six-sided ring, whatever it takes.
Whatever, yeah.
But yeah, I bring that up because they actually informed the audience on this pay-per-view that they just landed the Spike TV deal, which is huge for. I mean, that's like, in my opinion, that's like when TNA really starts. I don't know if you would agree or not.
Yeah,
because that's like Samoa Joe, Daniels, AJ. Like that's when all that stuff starts.
Yeah, that is like a few months before Christian Cage joins TNA. A few months before Kurt Angle joins, and yeah, that is where TNA really took off.
Yeah, absolutely. But kind of just to catch you up on what's happened since Destination X.
Yeah.
And I actually went back and looked at the card because like I forgot which one it was, but it's like hilarious how many people are no longer with the company since we last spoke. So like,
yeah, 3 times.
Kid Cash, oh man, we gotta. We'll touch more on him in the opening match because he kind of ties in with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Triton's gone. Sad. DDP's gone. The Nazis, aka the Disciples of Destruction.
I love them. I love those guys. Yeah, the Nazis, the Nazi bikers.
You witnessed that was literally their one match, and you witnessed it. Fight out the Slam. Dustin Rhodes is gone.
Yeah.
Kid Cash is over. Cruiserweight at the WWE now.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Chris Candido sadly passed away. Obviously, but
yeah, there was a sign.
Yes.
In the audience about it.
Yeah, right in the hard cam. It was like in memory of Chris Candido, but yeah, so that was cool to see.
Yeah.
Jarrett's no longer champion. He lost the title in a King of the Mountain match in which Raven won. Actually, he lost it to AJ, and then AJ lost it to Raven. So he's still champion here. Christopher Daniels, I believe he won the title in the show we covered, and he's still champion.
Yeah, I think so. I have some reminiscence. Yeah.
Right, yes. And Billy Gunn has undergone like 12 name changes since then. So
he's not the outlaw anymore. And that's really sad.
Yeah. Did that ruin the show for you that he's no longer the outlaw?
Yeah. When it was announced as Kip James, it was like, what? No, he's the outlaw.
You open up the show and there's no Triton and you're like just barely hanging on by a thread and you're like, Kip James, fuck. But yeah, so overall, what were your thoughts on this show, Sacrifice?
Much better than the previous one that we covered.
Much agreed.
I think it was much better. It had one match that I think was a truly great match, and which I will not spoil now. And the main event, which I had literally zero faith in that match going in, it was kind of entertaining. So yeah,
it was.
I was really shocked, and more or less every match is like from decent to good, in my opinion, except maybe one match or two that were like meh. But no, there wasn't really bad stuff in this pay-per-view, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we were talking about people that left the company. Dusty Rhodes also left the company, and from what I understand, he was like the head booker or something related to that. So I don't know what other shuffles have gone on backstage, but you can definitely tell the shows are paced much better in the later half of 2005. Like the early 2005 shows, there's a lot of dead space, a lot of garbage you had to just sit through.
A lot.
But yeah, this show, an easy watch for sure. I think every match had some sort of value to it in some way.
Yes.
Which is interesting because I don't know if you noticed, but there was no title matches on this show.
No, that's true. I didn't notice that. Yeah, that's true.
But the fact that you didn't know, and I didn't notice it until really like the main event, I think that says something about like the storylines and the matches were good enough to where you didn't need the titles.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, a lot of grudge matches, and commentary did a particularly good job on this show at like driving the point home of like why each match mattered in its own right.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that because I listened to the Spanish version, as I mentioned before.
Bienvenidos a Sacrifice.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. There is a tip for everyone who's listening right now. If you want to watch older TNA pay-per-views for free, just go to their website and look out for the Spanish version. I don't know why, but they're all free, and the English one you had to pay. So that's why I'm a cheap bastard, and I decided to go for the free one.
So you're saying you didn't want to pay for David Young?
Or Simon Diamond?
Or what do you... So this opening match here, it's a 6-man tag. We got Chris Sabin, Shark Boy, and Sanjay Dutt versus the Diamonds in the Rough, which is a faction comprised of Simon Diamond, David Young, and new member Elix Skipper.
Yeah, right.
So what are your
Triple X?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, what are your thoughts on Elix Skipper in general?
Oh, well, there is, of course, he's mostly famous for the cage spot. You know, that probably occurred like a month or two before that pay-per-view that we watched, because it was referenced to throughout the match, and there was, I think, a little bit of a clip about it, and and that was the first time that I ever saw TNA. I saw that spot. So you can imagine, I'm literally enamored with the guy. But outside of that, I know really, really little about him, about his career. I know he was like a WCW cruiserweight or something like that before. And I think that he had a lot of potential. To me, he was on the same level as a Christopher Daniels or an AJ Styles. And it's kind of a shame that it basically disappeared out of thin air. Yeah.
No, you're 100% right, because like you said, he's almost entirely remembered for that spot where he walked on the cage. And it was just a matter of them not really it's not like he was booked badly, because he did get chances. He had a few X Division title matches. He had a singles match against Daniels. He's been in a few multi-man match. I think even in the one we covered, he was in the title match. It was Ultimate X.
Yes.
So he's had the spotlight, but something just never clicked. I don't know. To me, I don't know if this is, because I've seen only a snapshot of his career, but he strikes me as one of those guys that can do the fancy moves, but like the in-between stuff, as far as tying everything together, even talking on the mic, he's decent on the mic, but I don't think.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You know who he reminds me in a way, like career-wise, not about the moveset or the physique. It reminds me a lot like of Mojo Rawley. Think about it.
Really?
Yeah, I think Mojo Rawley is that kind of guy that always kind of have a little bit of a push, then people have forgotten about him. Then you have like probably one or two moments that you vividly remember about his career. And and he had these moments, but if you analyze him, his wrestling style and the in-between stuff, as you said, is not really there, if you know what I mean. And it's kind of a similar vibe. Someone who has potential, but is not, completely developed in that way.
Yeah. And another layer to it is that, I mean, later in the show, we have AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. We have Christopher Daniels as the X Division champion. He's red hot. And like even the three guys that they're facing, Chris Sabin, Shark Boy, Sanjay Dutt, they're all pretty over in their own right.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it also is just a matter of the time that he started to get hot was when these guys were coming in, and I think he just got lost in the shuffle. I think that's really all it amounts to, honestly.
Yeah. And but before we talk about this match, I wanted there's a little thing that I wanted to point out. The logo of the pay-per-view. That terrible tribal tattoo is so 2005. Man, that's a tramp stamp if I ever saw one.
Man,
that is god awful. Oh, that was really terrible. Every time I had to see that one, I cringed a lot. That was considered cool back then. There is people walking this earth to this day who still have that tattoo.
Oh, I see. Yeah. You know what? It didn't strike me for whatever reason, but yeah, that's definitely like guy that gets tattoo but doesn't really think about it. He just wants to that's like barbed wire around the bicep kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Batista's belly tattoo. Belly tattoo. Yeah. It's probably the same.
This pay-per-view should have just been called Batista's belly button tattoo.
Yeah.
Would have gotten a lot more buys.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's hilarious. But so yeah, Diamonds in the Rough is this new faction, and Triton was actually originally a part of this. Well, it was more so just him. He was kind of like the bodyguard for Simon Diamond. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: Triton sucks, so they released him.
Poor Triton.
Poor Triton and his tiny head.
Yeah, I wonder what he's up to these days.
Nothing. Probably not much.
You see him? He's like 7 foot tall. He has a very tiny head, and I don't know. He's like the funniest accountant of West Oregon or wherever he's from. I don't know. I don't know. That could be cool.
Maybe he's like an electrician. He can get into high places, but he can also get into small places. You know. Yeah. I'm sure he found his niche somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Triton, if you listen to this, please get in touch. My number is +39 333. No, I would love to talk with him.
Man, I need to try to get him on this show. That would be a hoot. That would be a hoot. And I'll invite you on too. Don't worry.
Yeah, that would be great.
But this match right here, it's an opening match. You know, it's nothing too crazy. It's a fine match. To me, Chris Sabin kind of stuck out more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. What about you in this match? Stuck out?
Well, I'm super biased every time I see Shark Boy. That's a 5-star classic to me.
Oh,
I mean, he bites asses just like Kargotch and Hackersmith intended to. That's classic wrestling right there.
Yeah.
19th century stuff. And I absolutely love Shark Boy. Alex Skipper, at the point during the match, he tries to do the same rope walk that he do above on the cage, but of course on the rope at this time, and he plants himself. I don't know if you noticed that. He didn't do the trick. It was basically that wasn't high enough. I don't know, but he really plants himself. That was a scary spot to me. It's a kind of a messy finish between him and Sabin. I don't know. There were a couple of roll-ups that something didn't click.
Some hesitations.
Yeah, probably. But the face team wins. Shark Boy wins. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the rope walk spot. You know, he's done that a ton of times. Like, he's tried to incorporate that in his moveset, but he almost never hits it flush. Like, he almost always slips, like he did here or something. And it really, you know, we brought up before, but like, if he would have done that on the cage, man, that would have been disastrous. So it's lucky for him. The one time he hit that right was on a 20-foot steel cage.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like you said, the end, Elix Skipper and Chris Sabin, they kind of counter each other's finishers and then kind of just trade roll-ups. Chris Sabin eventually gets the upper hand and locks in a jackknife pin on Elix Skipper for the win. So solid opener match. Getting the crowd. They're finally, in the later half of 2005, they're definitely leaning into that X division. Like, that's what's going to get the crowd hot. That's what their bread and butter is. Yeah. So they opened the show with that style, and it's a good move.
And it worked. They accomplished what they needed to do.
Absolutely. But hey, Triton isn't here. But don't worry. At least Shocker's here.
Shocker's here. The Spanish announcers introduced him like he was the best Mexican luchador ever. Before he came out, they were hyping up this stuff, saying, "Oh, he's like the best free agent of lucha libre, stuff like that." And then he came out and was like, "What the fuck is the Shocker again?" Come on!
Hilarious with you watching the Spanish version. Like, you got a whole different perspective than what I got. Because what I saw is Shocker funny. Coming out. I saw Shocker come out to a smattering of applause. Nobody knew the fuck he was when he debuted, and still nobody cares about him. So.
Nobody cares about him.
Oh man.
But let me spend a quick word about the ring attire of Alex Shelley.
Thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, when I saw him, first thing that came to my mind was, for this episode, the role of the Fonz will be played by Alex Shelley.
You're talking about like his entrance attire?
Yeah.
Or his hair, I guess, the whole deal.
Yeah, he had the leather jacket.
He's a handsome fella. Well, I'm not going to hate it. He's a handsome fella. So is Shocker. He's El Guapo.
Yeah, more or less.
In Mexico, maybe he is.
Yeah.
But you talking about the attire. I'm going to tell you one thing that pissed me off about this. They both came in with tearaway pants. They had the perfect opportunity to just face off and both rip their pants off at the same time, but they didn't do it. They just kind of just slunk it like in the corners, whatever.
We love this kind of stuff. Why
spectacle?
Yeah. That was right there.
That took away at least a star from this match for me.
Yeah, of course. It's only 14 stars because of that. Could it be 15?
Is that Italian metric? I don't know how the metric system works over there.
Well, yeah. No, we have metric system, not star system.
Oh, I see. But the backstory here is basically they've had 2 matches against each other, and now they're 1-1. So this is kind of the rubber match of their series. And each match has kind of been similar. It's been a lot of mat-based grappling stuff, as opposed to what we saw in the opening, where it was a lot of high-flying kind of deals. This is more like submission-based, counter wrestling. It's pretty much what Alex Shelley brought to the table. He did it so well, and Shocker was basically out there to kind of match him.
Yeah, the best luchador, lest we forget.
Yeah, we can't forget that. I mean, I'm sure they reminded you over and over again.
Yeah, of course.
From the Spanish announce table. And I like the emphasis here that the commentary is putting on like their styles. So like this match here, like the whole story is like how are their styles gonna combine? Shocker's generally more lucha libre, more high flying. Alex Shelley's more submissions, counter wrestling, all that stuff. But Shocker's trying to, like I said, he's trying to like beat him at his own game basically, because in their last match, I believe it was Alex Shelley beat Shocker with his own move. So now Shocker is here going to try to do what Alex Shelley does. So it's kind of like a tit for tat kind of thing. So that's a cool little detail there that commentary threw in that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shocker's throwing in some like pretzel. He's wrapping Alex Shelley up like a pretzel in there. Really, really fun kind of match. Definitely a different pace in the opening match, but I still enjoyed it. Ultimately, Shocker goes for like a maestro cradle, but Alex Shelley counters it into a pin of his own, has his feet on the ropes, and that gives Alex Shelley the win.
Yeah.
So yeah, for what it was, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, the finish was incredibly inventive. I've never seen something like that, because he held on to the rope with his thighs, basically. I've never seen something like that before, but it was also incredibly stupid. The referee was right there. He was able to see that. So that's
the refs had a few moments in the show where they were like,
more than one instance. Yeah.
Do you need some glasses? Fella? But
yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's crazy because obviously you watch a show and you're like, okay, Alex Shelley, he's pretty young here, but when you fact he's only been wrestling for 3 years at this point.
What the
and like
fuck?
He's already
really?
So when I hear that, like he's 22, okay, he's a young wrestler, that's fine.
Shit.
But when you put it like when you think about it, he's only been training for 3 years. That's like insane.
I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, the fact that he's only getting started here. We're not even close to Motor City Machine Guns yet.
No. Well, I think Motor City Machine Guns came like in 2008. It's quite late. And
something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots to come from Alex Shelley in the future, but not so much from Shocker, I don't believe. Nope. But he's already stuck around longer than I thought he did, so who knows?
Yeah. He's been there like for 6 months, and that's 6 months too long, if you ask me.
Agreed. But man, Hoytomania is running wild in this next match. Hoyt. We got Abyss versus Lance Hoyts.
Yeah.
Battle of the Giants. What do you think about and also James Mitchell is with Abyss, which is kind of a new pairing at this point. I loved this pairing. What about you?
Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely. Everything about Abyss at the time was incredibly spot on. His entrance music is amazing. Every time I hear it, it's like you understand that he is like a demented creature, a psycho clown, or something like that. And that's amazing stuff. I don't care about the people saying, "Oh, he's a Kane ripoff, he's a Mankind ripoff." At least in this iteration of Abyss, like from 2005 to 2007 ish, I don't see that's comparison. I think he found his vibe in that particular era, and the pairing with Father Mitchell has always been incredibly spot on. Everything about Abyss in that period is perfect, except he tries too many times with the thumbtack spot. That's the only gripe I have, which he doesn't in this match, I think, if I recall correctly.
In this match, I don't believe he does.
Nope.
Unless I missed it. I don't think I would, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's when Abyss, he wrestles in a shirt and a mask, so he can afford to take all those thumbtack spots, I guess. But yeah, this is Battle of the Giants here. My main takeaway is what the hell is Lance Hoyts wearing?
Yet his name written the cross on his thigh. It's like Hoyt.
In case you forget, he's wearing like the shorts, like the early 2000s indie wrestler shorts.
Yeah, exactly.
He looks like a tall Brian Kendrick from 2006.
That's true. That is true. I don't know why I've always had a soft spot for Lance Hoyt. Every time I see him wrestle, I've always liked him, even when he was in the WWE CW. But so I'm enjoying what he's doing right now in AEW. But again, I think he is another example of a wrestler that did not live up to his potential. He always had he had the chance to be the guy, or at least hold a mid-card title or something like that, but I think he never fully used those chances, if that makes sense, or he wasn't in a position where he could do whatever he wanted with that. I don't know, but there's always something missing with him, and that's bad, because
I agree.
I love me some Lance Hoyt or Lance Archer.
Yeah, this is something that just doesn't click. I don't know if it's a matter, like we said with Elix Skipper earlier, is it just a matter of him getting lost in the shuffle? Because like you said, Christian gets here in a few months, and then Sting gets there, Kurt Angle, other guys. You have Samoa Joe in the picture. You have all a lot of the homegrown guys kind of getting over as well.
Then I think Lance Hoyt leaves TNA.
Yeah, I think he sticks around until 2007 or something.
Okay.
But he kind of just hangs around, because this match right here, first of all, great match.
Yeah, it was a great match.
really fun match.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great match.
Because it's so Lance comes out with his Brian Kendrick shorts. He sprints to the ring. He comes out hot, and he's actually taller than Abyss, but he's 50 or 60 pounds smaller. So he's definitely working this match as the high flyer kind of guy to kind of attack Abyss's girth. But Abyss kind of takes advantage for a big chunk of it. But ultimately, Lance fights back, gives Abyss a choke slam, and then a beautiful moonsault.
Yeah. This is on my notes. I wanted to talk about that moonsault. It was the first time I've seen a big man connect in a moonsault,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because Vader would connect, but he would do it in an ugly way that looked like it hurt, but it didn't look as graceful as this one.
Yeah, and more or less around the same time, 2004 and 2005, I don't know if you remember, the Big Show, Paul White, he always tried to do that, but it never connected, because it was like it happened basically on every match he had on SmackDown at the time. So he was totally in control of the situation. He was killing his opponent. Then, out of the blue, okay, let's climb the turnbuckle. And it took forever, and someone went there, boom, and that's it. And Big Show did what he did best, which is losing matches.
Turned heel, turned face,
and turned
in the match.
Face, right?
He was face when he walked up the turnbuckle, and he was heel by the time he landed. So
yeah,
Big Show got a Big Show. But Lance Hoyt, beautiful moonsault. He then sets up in the corner like he's going to charge for a big boot, but then gets caught with a black hole slam from Abyss for a 2 count, which is a big deal because Abyss's black hole slam is one of the most protected finishers in the company at this point. So
I thought so. Yeah.
So huge moment for Lance Hoyt there. I mean, at that point, he already comes out on top, whether he wins or loses. Mitchell, who's ringside, throws in a chair to Abyss. Abyss grabs it, but Lance hits him with a big boot and knocks the chair into his face. Kind of a clunky spot there, but then Jesus Christ. So Lance takes this chair and Abyss is sitting in the corner. Lance Hoyt puts the chair in front of his face. So immediately you're like, okay, he's going to do a coast to coast drop kick. So I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, it's 6-sided ring, right? So I'm thinking he's going to go like on the corner that's like right next to him, which would be like, that's kind of a short jump, but maybe the one next to that, maybe he's going to do that. No, what this motherfucker does is goes to the complete opposite side of the ring. And I'm like, there's no way in hell he's going to reach him. But he does. Coast to coast drop. I guess that tall dude, lanky, long legs, like helped him. So really impressive there. And then they pretty much replay, you know, Lance Hoyt gets in the corner, goes for a big boot, but then again gets caught with a black hole slam, and then this time Abyss gets the win. So Abyss wins, but just all in all, a really fun match between these two.
Yeah, loved it. I think there was in the middle, during a chair spot, the referee wasn't supposed to see because it was like supposed to be knocked down, but he was like standing there in the corner with his hands in front of his face. But he could clearly see. My God, that referee was worse than Bryce Rensburg in AEW. Man.
Hey, let's not get carried away here.
Come on, that was worse. I don't know. Anyway,
at least he's not as cartoony as Bryce Remsburg. Look, he's just shaking his head like a cartoon character. But I digress.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah. Next match, we got a tag team match here, and I think. So I know 3 Live Crew was a faction when we did our last show.
Yes.
At that point, were they having tension between their group? Do you remember?
No, not that I recall.
Okay, because it feels like this issue has been brewing for forever. So basically, you have 3 Live Crew. So you have Conan, Ron Killings, and BG James. So you got R-Truth and Road Dogg, for anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah.
And so we got this 3-man team. And who debuts is Billy Gunn, a.k.a. the New Age Outlaw, a.k.a. the Outlaw, a.k.a. Kip, a.k.a. Kip James. So now he's Kip James, Billy Gunn is.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of it is, so R-Truth and Conan are like looking at Road Dogg like, what, are you going to align with him, your old tag team partner, or are you going to stick with us? And it's just, they're just dragging this shit out. They like several pay-per-views has been going on. Nothing has been accomplished. But so that's basically the story here. And it's a tag team match. So it's Kip James and Monty Brown versus the 3 Live Crew, so Conan and Ron Killings. Mm-hmm. And before the match, Shane Douglas is interviewing the referee of this match, who is BG James.
Yeah.
And so he's basically in a position where now he finally has to choose sides.
Yeah.
As he's getting interviewed, Ron Killings and Conan both confront him. Ron is like, okay, man, I believe in you, man. I know you're going to do the right thing. Conan's just bucks up right away, gets in his face, like, come on, why don't you just stab me in the back right here? Or you going to wait till we're in the ring? So it's a little good cop, bad cop, I guess. But, and the match is, there's not a lot of substance to the match, honestly.
Nope. That was one of the few matches that were like, yeah.
This is one of the ones where if you like are invested in the story, I can see some value to it, but just a match in a vacuum, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. So BG James, he's like, during the match, he's clearly favoring the 3 Live Crew. Mm-hmm. Like he's counting slower when Kip and Monty Brown are pinning. He's like spending extra time to check on Ron Killings and Conan when they're down. So he's like clearly like on their side. So I'm watching this expecting a swerve. I think I thought like he was going to turn on Conan or turn on Ron Killings. Because I know eventually him and Kip James team up and form VKM and then we got that whole thing.
Yeah, in a few months. Like...
Right.
I don't know how many months removed from this pay-per-view, but it's not that far.
Yeah. Well, I guess they're the James Gain first, and then they change their name to VKM. But
yeah, probably, yeah.
That is definitely soon. So I thought it was this pay-per-view, but I guess it wasn't because ultimately Conan takes his shoe off and throws it at Billy Gunn.
Who throws a shoe?
Honestly, who throws the shoe? I don't know why that's his offense, but I'm not going to hate it, I guess. Conan wrestling in 2005. He's just thankful that he's in there. Yeah. He hits Billy Gunn with it. Then he takes the shoe, tries to throw it at Monty Brown, but BG James accidentally steps in the way and gets hit with the shoe by Conan. So now Road Dogg and Conan are arguing. This is like, okay, this is where the split's going to happen. This is where 3 Live Crew dies. So Billy Gunn goes to hit Conan with a chair, but BG James takes the chair from him and then gives Billy Gunn the shake, rattle, and roll. And then Conan hits Billy Gunn with a steel chair, makes the count. Road Dogg makes the count, and the 3 Live Crew wins. So I guess BG is sticking with Conan and Ron Killings here, huh?
Yeah. No, this match wasn't for me for many reasons. First of all, I could not care less about Kip James, BG James, and whatever. I didn't, as I said last time, I wasn't here on your show. I wasn't there for the Attitude Era, so there is not that nostalgia factor for me. All I see is one middle-aged guy which looks suspiciously muscular, and he wasn't even middle-aged at the time. Now he is, and he's even more buffed, so that's incredible. I'm talking about Kip James, of course. And the other one is just, I don't know. To me, Road Dogg, whatever you want to call him, he has just that catchphrase, the R to the O to the A, blah, blah, blah. That's it. I really, I don't see value in him as a wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it kindly, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah. If you didn't live through that time, I could definitely see you not really, because there was like a pretty small block of time where that was over. It was really over when it was over, but outside of that, he really didn't provide much. And
the only thing that I enjoyed about this match is Ron Killings, R-Truth. At one point, he jumps from the second rope, I think, and he throws a big leg drop. That was amazing. A fucking amazing move. I never saw him do that again. Of course, not now that he's older, but that was a great move. I popped for that. And, for what I didn't pop, for my man Monty Brown. Come on. Why do you have, such a beast and you have to have him caged? Oh, come on. Let him lose. Let him destroy everything and pounce everyone.
He needs put the strap on this man. What are they doing?
Put every strap on Monty Brown. Fuck it.
Strap it on and fuck me with it. So Monty Brown.
Yes. Strap it on and fuck me. Yeah, Monty.
There's the sound bite.
No.
Oh man, but but I think Destination X. That was the one where he turned heel, right?
Yes.
And he has made no progress since he's just been relegated to being a henchman, basically.
Yeah, I think that was the beginning of the end for Monty Brown as we know him.
100% was, and it's so sad. But, man, at least we have Christopher Daniels versus Austin Aries.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting. Yeah, good.
I was kind of boring from this match. I don't know, maybe it's just because of Austin Aries, of course. He has a go-away hit. And but I love Christopher Daniels and don't get me wrong, they're both great wrestling. But great wrestlers, sorry. But I don't know, there was something that didn't click for me. Maybe it was too long. I don't know. How long was this match? You have any idea?
I have no idea. I would guess probably like 12-ish.
Okay, so it wasn't even
Probably.
that long. It was not average. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably it was because of Austin Aries. That's all. That's all I have to say about it.
Watching it with 2021 lenses, it's like, oh god, this guy.
No. I hated him even back then. I hated him when he was Austin Starr
Oh yes.
for the paparazzi production. I don't know if you recall that.
I don't remember enjoying that at all. So
yeah,
I'm
I
with
hated
you.
him even that. So yeah, I'm an Austin Aries hater for a long time.
Well, I support it. I support you wholeheartedly. It's funny you didn't like it because this was built as an internet dream match. So I guess there was a poll on TNA's website. So it's basically, okay, Christopher Daniels gets to face one of your favorite indie wrestlers.
Oh yeah.
And the options were Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, Jay Lethal, or Matt Sydal. Apparently, Austin Aries got 55% of the vote. So
What the 2021 will go very differently.
yeah. And I think all these guys are in Ring of Honor at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure like where in the timeline they are at Ring of Honor, but I'm guessing Austin Aries is just red hot over there. So that's probably why he got voted. But interesting considering Jay Lethal eventually comes to TNA and becomes one of the biggest stars they ever had.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I have one comment about this match, which is like about Christopher Daniels in general.
Mm-hmm.
How cool of a finisher is the Angel Swings?
dude, I'll have to give some credit to Austin Aries on how he sold it too. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looked beautiful.
Yeah, that was it's an amazing move.
His BME too, best
Yeah.
moonsault ever. And this is a period where I mean, every time he hits it, it is perfect. Like it's a reason that he calls it that because it's damn good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Daniels, he's so smooth in this match, man. I mean, there was one point where he did that little like split-legged moonsault that you see guys do like to the outside generally, where he like jumps up, sits on the ropes, and bounces back.
Yeah.
But he did it inside the ring, and it just felt like as easy as somebody just walks back and forth. Like he just hopped up there, bing bang boom, didn't even think about it. Like so good,
Yeah.
so good. But yeah, Austin Aries, even though he's a dumb asshole, I enjoy watching him wrestle. I feel like he's very explosive. Like he's kind of like a short, stocky guy.
Yeah, he's a great wrestler, no doubt about it.
And I guess the premise here is that Daniels, he's the established TNA guy. So he's pretty much like taking Aries to school kind of deal. A lot of the matches, Daniels kind of dominating, but Austin Aries eventually, he like slapped the shit out of Christopher Daniels. Like you see all the sweat fly. Like that was like a Stephanie McMahon slap. So this like causes Daniels to get like frustrated and he starts like losing it. And then this allows Austin Aries to kind of take advantage. Hits some of his signature moves like the drop kick in the corner. Eventually he like kicks Daniels in the face. Like Daniels is on his knees. He kicks him square in the face, or at least it looked like it. Maybe it's the camera angle, but it looked really good.
Yeah, it looked fantastic.
Looked stiff, and then he hit with Aries hits a 450, but Daniels kind of grabs the ropes. He like kind of puts his finger. He's like a little bit too far away from it, but he gets like his fingernail on the ropes, which causes the break of that pin. Match ends with like a series of roll-ups and counters. Aries goes for a brainbuster, but Daniels beautifully counters it into an Angel's Wings. Like the whole like transfer, like grapple into that move, and then the move itself just looks so aesthetically pleasing. But yeah, Daniels gets the win here, and Austin Aries, I guess he sticks around because he comes back as Austin Starr. I don't know if he sticks around or if he like leaves and comes back, but
I think he leaves and comes back. I think because if I'm not mistaken, in that same time frame, it was the time that TNA asked for his wrestlers to choose if they wanted to be in TNA or Ring of Honor. They couldn't do both. I think it was or less more. Yeah, there was a period of time where AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, all these guys had to choose between one company and another. So many like Samoa Joe, AJ, they stayed in TNA, and others like Austin Aries, it was one of the guys that went back to Ring of Honor.
Gotcha. Yeah, that
But
collaboration.
I don't know if that's in that same period of time, but I know that's a thing that happened.
Yeah. I'm guessing you're right on that one. That sounds about right. But yeah, the collaboration with Ring of Honor and TNA just provided so much good stuff. Probably, I guess TNA probably came out ahead of that because they got like Samoa Joe, and
Yeah.
eventually they would get guys like Aries, and AJ Styles obviously stuck around. So
Well, CM Punk as well was in TNA
yeah.
in 2002, 2003 because of that collaboration with Ring of Honor.
Right. Yeah, exact low key, tons of guys.
Yeah.
Solid match there, but after that, we have Jerry Lynn versus Sean Waltzman.
Yeah.
So
Incredible to think that just 1 year removed from that terrible, terrible porno with China, X-Pac comes back to wrestling. Yeah.
I like that's your main takeaway.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Not only is it, but you know the year. What month was it?
I don't know. It was 2004. One night
Don't
in
pretend.
China.
Don't pretend like you don't know the date. Don't lie to me, Franklin.
The release date of that cassette VHS.
Oh, you have it on VHS. That's impressive. You got to rewind it every time. That's the whole thing.
I'm an old school guy.
Man, whatever. I'm not going to judge you. Oh man. But speaking of which, I came watching this match because it was an okay match. Jerry Lynn, Sean Waltman. Actually, it was a pretty good match.
I
okay,
like
probably
this
less.
match. I like this match more than the previous one, actually.
Yeah. Well, this one had at least a decent amount of story to it. So Sean Waltman and AJ Styles had actually a really great match at the last pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Where Jerry Lynn was the referee, and they kind of alluded that they had a little promo package before the show or before the match.
Yeah.
But Jerry Lynn kind of screwed Sean Waltman. He didn't screw him because Sean Waltman was cheating, but that's kind of the issue between them. And I guess they teamed together a long time ago when Sean was just starting off. But then Sean went to WWF, became a big star, and then Jerry Lynn, I guess he's like, "You never called me when you went to the big time," kind of deal. And Jerry Lynn is also in this match returning from an injury that he got over a year ago. So it was a shoulder injury, rotator cuff.
Yeah.
So this is his first match back. So a lot of this match is, as it should be, is Sean Waltman attacking Jerry Lynn's shoulder, like right at the beginning, like locks him up in an arm wringer kind of deal. At one point, he rams Jerry Lynn into the turnbuckle post, shoulder first. So I like that aspect of it. Other spots in this match, you have Jerry Lynn suplexing X-Pac from the apron to the floor, which looked pretty brutal.
That nearly decapitated the cameraman. I don't know if you noticed that. It was so
Poor
close.
cameraman. Yeah. There's a point where X-Pac, he goes for a Hurricane Rana on the Jerry Lynn, but he counters into a power bomb for a 2 count. Jerry Lynn goes for a cradle pile driver. X-Pac gives him a low blow, hits the X Factor, but Jerry Lynn is able to get his foot on the ropes to break up the pin. I thought that was it. That got me.
Yeah.
At one point, Jerry Lynn goes for a tombstone. I don't know. Was that something that he generally used? It was kind of a weird
I have no idea.
random move to pull out.
Actually, I have no idea. I've seen a few of his matches with RVD, but I don't remember him using the tombstone, to be fair.
Yeah, it was weird. But they do the whole deal where X-Pac kind of flips him over and hits a tombstone of his own for a 2 count. X-Pac, and towards the end, the finish comes when X-Pac gets Jerry Lynn on his shoulders, but Jerry Lynn counters into a victory roll for a quick win out of nowhere. Yeah, there's some post-match shenanigans too, but as far as the match itself, what did you think of it?
I like the match. It was even more than what I expected, because I did not remember that X-Pac, Sean Waltman, came back to wrestling. I didn't know about this match with AJ Styles before, so to me he was like, I thought, okay, he has no ring rust or whatever, and Jerry Lynn, I always expect Jerry Lynn to be that good. Even now, probably, even now that he's a trainer in AEW, probably it can still go and be that good. So yeah, that was even better than what I expected. And there was a weird moment when X-Pac goes in front of Mike Tenay and starts screaming, "Suck it!" And then two sweets, Mike Tenay with a mark.
He is a mark, isn't he?
Sometimes I stop and think about that. Sean Waltzman is a 2-time Hall of Famer with DX and NWO, and he could be inducted as a standalone entry. It will be.
I feel like he should.
I think it will be the first and only 3-time Hall of Famer.
Who would have thought that the first 3-time Hall of Famer is
Sean
fucking
Waltzman.
1, 2, 3 kid?
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, his run in TNA, like, because I'm watching all these shows, and the more I watch of it, the more I'm convinced that Sean Waltman's run in TNA in 2005 is the best work of his career.
Yeah, probably because it basically never worked before. He was like the punching bag of both NWO and DX. So he didn't have to work matches. Of course, not that long. Yeah, I agree.
Because like this match is great. His match with AJ was great. He had actually a really good match with Raven a few months before this, like the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, whatever it's called.
Okay.
And he's not, because sometimes these legends come in and they kind of phone it in, like they're just there for a paycheck. But X-Pac here is definitely.
We're looking at you, Kevin Nash.
Yeah, I thought Kevin Nash was gone. Apparently, he's recovering from a staph infection or something. And I think he comes back. And doesn't he actually align with Austin Starr? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, he's the one guy behind the paparazzi production. He's doing
the paparazzi. Yeah, Alex Shelley's a part of it. Yeah, now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
I'm
and
not
Kevin
looking
Nash
forward to
is the one responsible for the gimmick of Black Machismo.
I do remember that. Yeah. So there's some good, some bad, I guess. But that's TNA in a nutshell. But after the match, gotta mention. So Jerry Lynn wins. X-Pac, Jerry Lynn, they're facing each other. They shake hands. X-Pac's holding Jerry Lynn's arm up. Like, here's your winner. They come in for a hug. But then that goddamn Sean Waltman does a shoulder breaker, grabs Jerry Lynn's arm, shoulder breaker to the mat, because remember, that's his injured shoulder or recently recovered shoulder, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Throws Jerry Lynn to the outside, drapes his shoulder over the steel guardrail, bashes his shoulder with a steel chair. Commentary is livid.
Yeah.
At this, they're not. And you brought it up because
the bastard Pac.
Yeah, the bastard X-Pac. X-Pac's walking past the commentary table. Mike Tenay is like, "You have no respect," and then Sean Waltman's like, "Respect this."
Yeah,
that's the crotch chop. So good. I loved every bit of this.
Poor Mike Tenay.
Just trying to call a match, and he's getting a penis thrown in his face. But that's territory, I guess. But after that, we got an 8-man tag match.
Yes.
So we got AMW
Yes.
and the Naturals on one team, and the other team, we got Team Canada. Did you enjoy this?
Of course. Every time I'm super biased towards Team Canada. I love them to death. I want them to win every match. So I threw my neutrality right out of the window for this match. I was cheering for Team Canada. Loved it. I have to admit that I love AMW. To me, they are the best team ever in TNA. I don't care. I don't care what you think about Beer Money. I don't care. AMW all the way. And
I support that.
And the only thing I can say about the Naturals is that I remember them from back in the day, and to me they're I call them the Sperm Bucks. Because it's not the Young Bucks yet. It's before that. So they are the Sperm Bucks.
The Sperm Bucks.
Yeah,
okay.
that's how I call them. They even like do the super kick party or stuff like that. They look kind of the same as the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks will go to TNA like 2 years later with the Generation Me. No, 3 years later probably. I don't remember exactly. And I to me they were one and the same for many years. I realized who the Young Bucks were later. So the Sperm Bucks. There you go.
I think the Naturals kind of thrived more when they were heels, because they were. I could see physically they look like the Young Bucks. I think their style is a bit different.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit more like traditional, like ground-based kind of. But looking at this match, I mean, TNA, especially in the early days, like tag team wrestling was that thing that's like, okay, we go to TNA if we want to watch this because like they're doing it better than anybody. And essentially in this match, you have all those teams that kind of built that division. You have AMW, the Naturals, Team Canada. They've all like faced each other at one point in their careers. AMW and the Naturals they've been bitter rivals for years. Like they've had cage matches and all that stuff. But now they're at a point where they're both baby faces. So they're like, and they both have been losing to Team Canada to all the interference and stuff. So it's like, okay, we got to band together for a common enemy kind of deal.
Yeah, blame Canada.
But always blame Canada. Always blame Canada. Not enough hockey sticks in this match.
That's what happens when you have few borders, guys. It will never happen in Europe. But there's plenty of people around here.
There's only two people we can blame.
Yeah, you can blame. It's either build a wall in Mexico or blame Canada. That's it.
It's either Shocker or A1 that we have to blame. So those are only choices.
Exactly. Yeah.
Match itself was I thought it was a pretty fun match. It was kind of hectic, especially at the end. What was your main takeaway from this match, I guess?
I have a few of them. I like the match, as I said. Seeing at the beginning of the match, there was a lot of mat wrestling, and seeing Bobby Roode working James Storm's leg is the best wrestling of the night so far. I enjoyed that thing. That it was so vicious, and they're both so good in what they're doing.
And clearly great chemistry between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. As we will discover a few years removed. Eric Young, what an amazing wrestler. He can do he can fill every spot in the card, from comedy wrestler to main eventer to Team Canada to women's wrestling, as we know he did with with ODB at one point.
I love this one spot where he was on the top rope. I don't know what we're talking about. So like Chase Stevens, I believe it is, gives Eric Young an enziguri, and Eric Young falls from the top rope, does a face flop bump to the outside.
Like a sick outside bump is so
bounces.
It's good.
That was great. Good. I love that.
Yeah, and that's it. That is my takeaway is that I love people working legs, and I love Team Canada. This is...
Well, everybody knows you're a legs guy, so that doesn't even need to be said.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, towards the end, so the Naturals hit the natural disaster on Eric Young. Chris Harris comes in, hits the catatonic on Petey Williams, which is like a swinging sidewalk slam. Bobby Roode gets in, tries to hit a Northern Lariat onto Chris Harris, but James Storm intercepts it with a super kick. I thought it was a really fun, creative spot. Chris Harris is in there. Tower of Doom with him, Bobby Roode, Chase Stevens. I think at one point Harris even dives to the outside on everybody. So Chris Harris is really shining in this match.
Yeah.
AMW, Braden, knock.
Loved him. I loved him in
Braden Walker.
TNA. Then Braden Walker happened. Yeah.
Then everybody goes through a Braden Walker phase in their life, right?
Yeah.
AMW, they go for a heart attack onto Petey, but Harris gets tripped up and pulled to the outside. This pulls James Storm onto the apron to kind of mitigate this, but Bobby Roode whips Chase Stevens into Storm. Storm gets knocked to the outside, and then this allows Bobby Roode to roll up Chase Stevens while holding the tights for the win. To recap, so you had basically a guy from wins. Always Canada. Canada has to give something. They don't get a lot of wins in life, so
they have free healthcare, for God's sake.
Yeah, but
that's a huge win.
Their food sucks and nobody uses deodorant, so you take some, you lose some.
dude, I'm Italian. Everybody's food sucks, in my opinion. So that's
Hey,
not...
you got pizza, right? Huh? That's what
Yeah.
everybody's just eating over there, nonstop.
Yeah, I didn't know about the deodorant, but
Yeah. Well, I'm basing this on the one time I went to Canada and there's a lot of smelly people there, so maybe it's just a segment of it. But so yeah, basically here you have a guy in the naturals accidentally hitting a guy in the AMW. So now there's like a pull apart at the end between AMW and the naturals. So I'm sure that's going to build to something. But Canada comes out the winners. So I think we're all happy, right?
yes, of course. I am.
Man. But this next match, whew. Super X Cup Finals match. Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles. Like, I don't know if I could, like, do this match justice, like,
No.
talking about it.
No, probably.
Yeah, I mean...
Just for our listeners and or watchers, there are no Wendy's involved in this match. If you're familiar with their bout in WWE, forget about it.
Nope. Man, I it's funny, I'm watching this match, and that doesn't even, like, trigger in my mind. It feels like two different people that I'm watching here.
Yeah, right?
Wendy! That whole thing. Yeah. I gotta mention, I gotta shit on Shane Douglas at least once in every TNA podcast. So before the match, he's trying to interview Samoa Joe, and this is during the whole time where Samoa Joe doesn't really talk. I think at this point he's never said any words actually. So Shane Douglas is like asking him questions. Samoa Joe's not answering. Shane Douglas gets pissed. He like grabs a chair, he sits it down. He's like, "You're not gonna disrespect me. You're gonna answer my questions right now." And then Samoa Joe like kind of just gets face to face. And I remember what he said. He's like, "You want me to show you respect? My respect is that I'm not kicking your ass right now." It's like, okay, that's fine. And Shane Douglas, like Samoa Joe walks off, and Shane Douglas like he's all pissed, like he's like shaking. I don't know if that's building to anything or if that's just Shane Douglas trying to get himself over. But
I think Shane Douglas will leave TNA like a few months after that.
well, I know at one point, doesn't he manage the Naturals?
He is already managing the Naturals, even now.
Not at this point.
No, really?
No, I think it's about to happen. I think they're we're like
okay. So I
because
guess my timeline messed up.
the Naturals, they were managed by Chris Candido. Then he passed. So now they're in this basically period where, okay, we can't boo the Naturals because their manager just passed away. So their babyface is de facto.
Yeah.
So I guess they're going to eventually, but the pull apart that we saw in the last match, so one of those teams has to be heel. And I'm guessing that maybe that gets sparked by Shane Douglas entering the picture, but I'm just guessing purely.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe versus Styles, just like you have a picture in your head of what it's going to be, and it's even better. By the way, I tweeted this match out. Impact has this on YouTube for free. So if you just search for Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles, Sacrifice 05.
Go and enjoy it. Every second of it is worth it.
Yeah. And we're only a month away from that famous Unbreakable three-way between these two and Daniels.
Yeah.
So this match kind of flies under the radar, I guess, because of that. But Daniels, at this point, he's the champion, X Division champion. He's on commentary. And from the beginning, man, this match is red hot. You have AJ, obviously the smaller guy, but he's still kind of using these power moves. Mm-hmm. He's body slamming Samoa Joe, suplexing him. Really physical this match was throughout.
Yeah, there was that fucking kick through the ropes, man. That was, there was AJ hanging onto between the second and third rope, I think. And then Samoa Joe, boom, just kicked him square in the face. And it didn't even touch the apron. It just landed on his head on the concrete below.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you're listening. So it's basically the face wash move that Samoa Joe typically does. But think of it, he just kicks him straight in the face and knocks him to the outside. That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
Another spot I really enjoyed. So early in the match, AJ does like this kip up into a Hurricane Rana, like he's on his back and he jumps up and Rana's Joe. But later in the match, he tries to do it again. But this time, Joe is wise to his tactics, so he just kind of like brushes him off and then gives him one of the most sickening power bombs I've ever seen in my life. Like it wasn't like a last ride. It wasn't a sit out. It wasn't a spinning power. It was just a power bomb. But he almost drove this dude through the ring with it.
Yeah. and then he turned to the Lion Tamer.
Oh yeah, and that's like a spot he would do a lot in his career, but for whatever reason, it just looked more vicious. Like it's when he power bombs him, pins him, like he's still folded up. They kick out, and then he counters into like a Boston Crab, Lion Tamer kind of deal.
Yeah.
Then transitioned into an STF. Like that was a spot he would do a lot, but it looked really good here.
Yeah, it was so vicious and so smooth. There is really no one like Samoa Joe. Nobody.
No.
Nobody. Even to this day, no one comes close, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's
Absolutely.
really unique. Really unique person.
Yeah, especially at this point, especially in the X division when it's typically like the smaller guys, but this is when they're really driving home. It's not about weight limits, it's about no limits, Professor. Yeah. So that's how Samoa Joe gets entered into this. This popped me really hard. So Joe does, I don't know how you would describe it. It's like a rolling cradle pin where he's like spinning them all over the ring over and over again. Goes for the pin itself. It's a 2 count. But then AJ, the way he sells it, so he's like trying to get to his feet. He's all disoriented because he's dizzy. And then he goes for the Pele kick, but he's like on the other side of the ring, like really putting over how like disoriented he is. That was hilarious.
This is the in between stuff that really really shows you how fucking of a genius a wrestler can be, and in this case he is. That's amazing. Yeah, that was a stroke of genius in my opinion.
Both these guys are just tremendous in that way.
Yeah, and even before that, there is another spot where AJ Styles jumps on the top rope and does a senton in midair. But I don't know if you noticed. I think if he honestly forgot what he wanted to do, because probably he wanted to do a 450, because I don't recall him doing sentence, and he wanted to do a 450, but he forgot to rotate, basically.
I had the same thought. Yeah.
There is at this moment in midair when he says, "Oh fuck it," and he's able. I don't know how he's able to rotate and lands a senton like it looked like he intended to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because like you said, he usually does that springboard 450, but it was like just a swanton senton kind of deal. But yeah, this match, I think what made it so good is like you had the hard hitting stuff. You had the high flying stuff, but you also had like the selling was great between, like we just talked about with how he got spun and got dizzy. But there's just like the intensity of it. Like there's a spot where they're just trading strikes in the middle of the ring, rapid fire strikes from Joe, like all the slaps. But then AJ counters with a Pele kick, and they're both laid out, and then crowd's going nuts over this, and it's just like, man, this match never let up.
Yeah, this is one of those occasions when you suspend your disbelief. They're both so good. They whatever they do is so fucking believable that you say, okay, they're going at it for real. Like you suspend your disbelief, and that's something really rare. In pro wrestling, especially now that we are accustomed to see whatever crazy flight move and 400 super kicks and stuff like that. And,
no, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because like you said, nowadays these matches can be very choreographed. Like, I mean, they're all choreographed, but they feel choreographed when you're watching them. This match here did not. Like, at no point was like, oh, these are two guys that worked out a match and they have the spots that they're doing. No, it felt like these guys were fighting. And these two, even in like the Ring of Honor stuff I'm watching from earlier in the 2000s, like they were both really great back then too. So it's no surprise that they were able to create something like this. But towards the end, Samoa Joe's going for the muscle buster. AJ fights out. And then incredibly, even this far into the match, AJ picks up Joe into like a torture rack position, slams him. But in slamming him, he knocks out the ref with Joe's feet, I guess, inadvertently. Daniels, at this point, because remember he's on commentary, he runs in, gives AJ an STO. And then Daniels goes to hit Joe with the title belt, but Joe sees him, and then Daniels is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Joe, I didn't mean to." At this point, AJ is back up. He clotheslines Daniels out of the ring, but Joe is able to take advantage and hits a brutal muscle buster, locks in the coquina clutch. The ref is awake now. AJ fights to get to the ropes. He's almost there, but he has to tap. So Samoa Joe wins the 2005 Super X Cup and now has a title match against Christopher Daniels. But we all know, because Unbreakable is the next pay-per-view, we all know that's going to be a triple threat match between all these three guys. And man, it's incredible that it only gets better from here because this was amazing.
Yeah, this was amazing. I don't know if you're a believer of the 5 stars or whatever, but if we want to use that metric, that was clearly a 5-star match. I see no flaws whatsoever in this match. It was believable. It was fun. I don't know how long it was, but it felt like.
I don't even think it was that long. That was like my only I could have even been longer, I think, but it might have been only been like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I absolutely loved it.
But I guess they'll continue to build onto it, so yeah. But after this, so I guess it's the main event after this, right? Yeah. So the main event, we have
oh, sorry, just one little thing. This was the first time that AJ Styles stepped out in TNA.
Is it? Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
I believe
time.
it.
First time that so that was even more of an historic achievement for Samoa Joe.
Yeah, and Samoa Joe at this point, I mean, because he goes on to have like a crazy undefeated streak, like over a year, I think. So we're just at the beginning of that. He only debuted a few months ago, so really just putting over how dominant Samoa Joe is, and yeah, that's a good little detail because that just reinforces how dangerous he is and how dangerous that choke is.
Yeah.
So yeah, good shit. But that brings us to the main event. I thought, honestly, actually, after watching the show, I'm okay with what was main event. But when I looked at the card and I saw the match order, I was like, that's kind of strange. But so the main event is Jeff Jarrett and Rhino versus Raven and Sabu. Man, you look at these 4 guys, like one of these things. It's not like the other. Which is, what's interesting is, so obviously 3 of the 4 guys here are ECW guys.
Yeah.
This show takes place only a few months after that first ECW one night stand
that
WWE had. So I'm wondering if they're like trying to capitalize on the popularity of that by 1, putting the NWA title on Raven, and 2, bringing in guys like Rhino and Sabu.
I think Raven was already there. Rhino, I don't know. Has he been there long?
So he debuted at the last pay-per-view.
Last pay-per-view.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Rhino, basically throughout the whole show at the last pay-per-view, Jarrett was like, where's Rhino? He's like asking everybody backstage, I want Rhino. I'm going to kick his ass. But at the end of the match, or at the end of the show, Raven, who had just retained his title, is standing in the ring. Jeff Jarrett comes out, and Jeff Jarrett points at Raven, and he's like, hey, Raven, turn around. And then there's Rhino, who gores the hell out of Raven. So Jeff Jarrett and Rhino are in cahoots. I don't know if Rhino is like the paid assassin of Jeff Jarrett. They didn't really explain that. They're just aligned, and we have to accept it. But
whatever.
And Jarrett, obviously, he's always the world champion. So Raven is that champion right now. So Jeff Jarrett's trying to get a title match. But then there's this whole thing with Larry Zbyszko, who's like the head, I don't know, GM, whatever his title is. He's like, no, you lost it. You're in the back of the line. Yeah, matchmaker. So you're in the back of the line. Jeff Jarrett's like, well, goddamn, Memphis. So he's in this match, and the stakes of this match, which were laid out, I guess, in the pre-show, is if Raven beats Jarrett, then he doesn't get a title match for an entire year. Yes. Jarrett doesn't. Correct. But if Jarrett pins Raven, then he gets a title match at Unbreakable. But they never really mentioned what if Sabu gets the pinfall? What if Rhino gets the pinfall? So they kind of, there's a gap in logic there, but that actually ends up playing out in the finish. So maybe that was intended.
Yeah.
And also a constant thread throughout the show is, so they just landed that deal with Spike. So Jarrett is basically paranoid that with Spike, with the company's TNA's going to the moon, everybody's going to want to come to TNA, which kind of is what happens, really. Because we saw Rhino is here, and he's like, that's just the beginning. So when people come in, that means people are going to get fired. So, and Jarrett's like, well, it's going to be the originals that get fired because all these shiny new toys coming in. It's kind of relevant to what's going on today, honestly. But So Jarrett's like paranoid. He's basically like, well, if I'm not world champion, then I'm expendable and they're going to fire me. So that's kind of his motivation behind this whole thing, like this whole thing. And he's like, throughout the show, he's like walking up to AMW, the Naturals, Team Canada, all these TNA originals. And he's like, you better join up with me or you're going to be fired along with me. And I think eventually, doesn't AMW join up with Jarrett? Or God. The Naturals? It's one of the, maybe Team Canada. I think eventually one of these teams does.
I don't know.
Or maybe all of them. Maybe all of them. Who knows? But that's kind of the backstory here. No titles are on the line. Just the stakes that I laid out earlier. But this match here, the main event, like we said in the beginning, it was better than it had any business being.
Yeah.
Definitely, it wasn't built as like a street fight or a hardcore match, but that's what it was. Considering 3 out of the 4 guys are ECW alumni, it makes sense. I've always loved the chemistry between Raven and Rhino. Mm-hmm. Like one of my low-key favorite matches ever is their hardcore match from Backlash 2001. Have you ever seen that match?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Oh, have I?
Go check it out.
I don't remember that. Sorry.
It's like a 10-minute match. Go if you ever have free time. That's definitely worth a watch. Uh-huh. Is the best thing either of those guys ever did in WWE for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of craziness, a lot of weapons and blood and all that. Anything in particular stick out to you?
You know what? Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, Jeff Jarrett's signature spot is being thrown into the announcers. if you remember, even last time it did the spot. And right. I appreciate the fact that they saved the blood for this match only. That made it stand out to me. Because, again, now we are so desensitized.
There you go.
Sorry. And we're used to see, as I said, multiple false finishes, multiple kickouts, multiple blood crimson masks during the same show.
Yeah.
In this case, I noticed it because that was the only match with color. I was like, whoa.
Right.
Cool. And that was the thing that got me even more into the match. I was already kind of appreciating it, but after that, it was like, okay, I'm sold. Great match.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, I didn't really even realize that, but that is what kind of made it. When you don't see blood a lot, when it happens, it's like, oh my God, he's bleeding. But I think the first one that gets cut up is Jarrett. And how does he get cut open? Well, with a pizza cutter. Obviously, what else would it be? I would say Jarrett, we joked about how he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in this match, but he was hanging in there with these guys and all the hardcore stuff they were doing. So I'm going to give props to Jeff Jarrett in this match for sure.
Yeah.
Taking, like I said, the pizza cutter. He's getting bashed in the head with trash cans, chairs. Some of these chair shots, man. I mean, in hindsight... Ooh. Maybe not the
Sabu gets a chair shot from Rhino, if I recall correctly. That was pretty stiff.
Yeah.
And also, it's the first time that Sabu doesn't botch any of his chair spots.
Yeah, I actually made a note of that as well. Sabu looked really smooth in this match.
Oh, I think he has like a misstep at the beginning. I don't remember what, but it was something like minute. And then every time he sets up the chair, I was like, they're like, okay, here we go. There's a Sabu. There's a Sabu chair botch trademark. And he never botched it. Congrats, bravo.
Yeah, I'm with you. Every time he did it, I was like, well, there's bound to be at least one. But no, I think he hit one. It was like he stepped up on the chair and hit a Rana onto somebody. There's another one where he did like, I guess an Arabian leg drop. Is that what it's called? Where he like runs up the chair, bounces on the ropes, and then 180s into a leg drop. Looked really good. The leg drop with the chair under his legs. Like he's busting out all the Sabu stuff in this match,
and they all connected
amazingly. This has got to be the only match that it ever happened.
I'll call Guinness World Record. We gotta know.
Yes,
that's the only time.
Least amount of Sabu botches.
Yeah.
Oh man, but so what happens here? So Jarrett got to have a guitar shot
of course.
in this match, which I don't actually think ended up happening because Jarrett teased it. He was going to hit Raven with a guitar, but Cassidy Riley, who is, I guess, like Raven's minion, he's dressing up like Raven. I don't even know if Raven ever acknowledges him, but he's like, I'm a part of the flock. Cassidy Riley.
I think this is like the beginning of Raven's group, which was called Serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
I'm unfamiliar.
You're not familiar. Kazarian was a part of it.
For real? Oh,
yeah.
I think he's actually in WWE at this point, but I don't think it lasts too long.
Yeah, and this group, it was him and the other two guys, one of which was Kazarian. I don't remember the other one, probably the one that we saw in this show. And it was basically the Raven's flock, but TNA version.
Now that you mention it, I kind of have vague. Did it go like into like the middle of 06?
Yes, of course.
Okay, because that's like when I started watching, so I have vague memories.
He was dressing like all in white. It was like this kind of a messiah savior gimmick.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Yeah.
I take it. But Rhino, everybody's hitting their finishers on everybody. Rhino gores Raven.
Oh, great gore.
All those gores are great. Rhino, come on, man. Goes to gore Sabu, but misses and gores the ref instead. Yeah. These referees, man, this is a dangerous work environment to say the least.
Oh yeah.
Sabu takes out Rhino with a chair shot, then hits the leg drop with the chair. And then Abyss runs in. He puts Sabu, basically, he like gets in the ring, picks up Sabu, and throws him through a table that's set up ringside. I don't know what the motivation is behind this, but
and I don't know if you notice it, when it throws the table, there was the referee's leg like on the table, and Sabu almost broke his leg.
Ooh.
Almost broke the referee's leg. Yeah, that was so fucking scary.
Yikes. I have to go watch that back. I'm telling you, these referees, they don't get paid enough.
Yeah.
But I know you're thinking to yourself, like, man, I could use some more run-ins in this match. So Abyss puts Sabu through the table, and then in comes Jeff Hardy. Takes out Abyss with a chair, hits a twist of fate onto Jeff Jarrett, hits the swanton on Jarrett. I don't know if I mentioned this, but there was this whole deal where so Jeff Hardy was with the company, but he no-showed a few shows.
Yes.
So he got suspended, like for real. So basically, they're playing off of this, and they're basically saying, if Jeff Hardy doesn't show up tonight, then he's fired. So they're basically making a kayfabe storyline out of a real situation, I guess. But Jeff Hardy shows up here at the end, and I guess he's not fired yet.
I think he was supposed to wrestle in Sabu's place, but I think Sabu was a replacement of Jeff Hardy. And at least that's what the Spanish commentators told me. they said that they didn't know if he was gonna wrestle or not, and Sabu was the appointed replacement or something like that. And in the end, okay, we can confirm Jeff Hardy is not here. Sabu will wrestle.
Right. Oh man, I can see that for sure. Yeah, I know that. I guess now I'm thinking about it, I know Jeff Hardy and Abyss. There might be other guys involved, but they have a Monsters Ball match at Bound for Glory in a few months, and I think that's that famous spot where Jeff Hardy like goes on top of the screen and swantons onto Abyss. So I guess that carries for a few months, but a new referee's in. Because remember, Jeff Hardy swantoned Jeff Jarrett. Raven covers Jeff Jarrett, but Rhino is in there to break it up. Rhino then sets up a table in the corner, and Raven and Jeff Jarrett, they're jockeying for position in the corner, but Rhino ends up coming out of nowhere and gores Raven through the table, pins Raven. So Rhino and Jeff Jarrett gets to win, but it's important because Rhino is the one that got the pin. And remember, we laid out the stakes. It was like if Jarrett pins Raven, if Raven pins Jarrett. But what happens if Rhino gets the pin? So that's what happens. Jarrett's upset because he was like, I'm supposed to win, Memphis. And then, so I guess I think Rhino eventually beats Jarrett for the title at some point, if I remember correctly.
I think so. because
This is
then
the beginning of that tension.
when Christian Cage comes in, I think he wins the title off of Rhino, if I'm correct.
So he beats Jarrett for the title.
He beats Jarrett. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess they hot potato the title a little bit, but
okay.
So that sets up an issue between Rhino and Jarrett, I guess. But yeah, like I said, this match is definitely hardcore, lots of weapons, lots of shenanigans, lots of run-ins, but I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't expect to enjoy it. But
Me neither.
Yeah, I loved it. It was so overbooked, but not too much overbooked, if that makes sense to you. So yeah, I loved it absolutely, and there were a couple of nice touches there, like the blood that was saved just for the main event. This kind of little things that made the difference, in my opinion. Yeah. I liked it. I respect you, Jeff Jarrett.
For one night only, I'll respect Jeff Jarrett.
I respect Jeff Jarrett.
So yeah, man, that brings Sacrifice 05 to a close. Any other thoughts on the show as a whole?
No, well, I think it was a strong show. I agree. It's something that has a kind of decent rewatchability value to me. Of course, the AJ Styles Samoa Joe match was amazing. Everyone should watch it right now. But even the main event and even some other matches here and there were cool. I liked it. That's a great show. Thank you for asking me to come to the Apron bump and talk about it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're my go-to TNA guy, man. And I know you're always waiting in the wings to talk about some Kip James. So
the outlaw.
The outlaw. But yeah, again, as always, a pleasure. Thank you for making the time to watch the show. Come on here, talk about it. Where can everybody find you and listen to the Last Minute Wrestling podcast?
Nowhere. Don't do that, guys. Seriously.
Oh, don't do that? Okay. Fuck this guy, I guess.
No. My website is lmwpodcast.com. And if you go to this wonderful place here that I have on my t-shirt, which is verbal.com, is like something like a Spotify for podcasts specifically, where you could even cut like small clips of a certain podcast and save it and play it for the future. Every time someone says something like, what did they say before, like the strap-on and Monty Brown or something like that.
If anybody's looking to get strap-on by Monty Brown, they can find it easily.
Of course, yeah. And that's a great place to discover new podcasts. So go to verbal.com/forward LMW podcast, I think.
Awesome. Something like that. You can send it to me. I'll put it in the description or whatever.
Yeah. Or wherever you want to. YouTube, Twitter, everywhere.
Pornhub, all the usual suspects.
I'm on Pornhub as well because I've been guest of our common friend Matt Reader. Is it Smacking It Raw, right?
Yes, because there's Smacked Raw and then there's Smacking It Raw.
Yeah, because when I was a guest on his show, I think I said the other name, so he didn't invite me back. So
that's what he tells me in the DMs. Like, fuck this Frank guy, isn't he?
This Frank, just to ruin me. No, so yeah, you can actually find my face on Pornhub because of him.
Yeah, sometimes I just see your face in the corner, like in the, you may also like this, so I have to look at your face while
When every time you search for like hot Italians and stuff like that in the categories,
which I generally do, so that's where the overlap is. But but yeah, always a great time, Frank. We'll definitely do this again sometime, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. Sorry, I was jamming out there. I didn't notice. Creed, everybody. Gotta love Creed. My Sacrifice. It's the title of this pay-per-view. Once again, thank you to Frank for joining me on this podcast. Awesome time, as always, with my boy Franklin. I know that's not his real name, but I like calling him that because I love the TV show growing up. Hey, it's Franklin. But go check Frank out. He has an awesome podcast himself. Check him out at lmwpodcast.com. Check him out on Twitter at lmwpodcast. Check out verbal.com as well. Frank is a ambassador for that great website, so go check that out. And yeah, that's about all Daddy has for you today. Apronbump.com for all my episodes, all my social media. Episodes tab if you want to select a particular genre of wrestling, promotion, era, all that shit. Apronbump.com. All my social media also in the description. And that's about it. I appreciate all you, really do. I appreciate the support that all you guys give me for this podcast. Really, really tickles my cockles and makes me enjoy doing this every week. So I appreciate you all. Really do. That's it. All right, I'm going. You hang up. No, you hang up. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it.